That's right, everyone. We have another electrifying day, and we are out here doing our fasted cardio without a shirt on. I'd like to even out this tan on my arm. As you can see while I'm in the shade there, let's see if it's a little bit better now. Like I just have a, I have a line a little bit up my upper arm just from the tan. And the bad part is I've tried to avoid it because I'll wear this like sleeve I found online that I could just pull over my arm because my left arm's out the window. Damn it, I got a rock in my shoe. My left arm is out the window the majority of the time when I'm driving my truck, so it's just eating more sunlight than everything else. So I got that sleeve to try and help me. Problem is, like, I've also been in my car quite a bit without the sleeve on, and it's still the same concept, so I'm disappointed that happened. And honestly, that left arm really needs to get less sun because, let's see here, like I have a bunch of freckles on that arm. Those weren't there before. That's sun damage. I have like a lot of them in one spot. I actually have a scar on this arm. I did not wear sunscreen in high school when I played football, so I got such severe burns. The skin was like flaky, but not flaky like it's peeling, like it was that burnt. So that happened, and then someone put their rubber gloves on the side of my arm when we were doing a play during practice to block me, and they kind of like wiped their arm off of me, or their hand off of me, and it just ripped all that fucking skin off. So permanent scar and sun damage, those are things that happen. And there's a few things like the sunscreen, or especially when I played football, like I destroyed my knee, and I grinned and bared it, and after 4 weeks I was already back on the field when I should have been out for a whole season. And I was limp running with my right leg completely straight out because I could barely bend it, and you could kind of see me running like Forrest Gump when he's a kid. And I did that just to prove I was tough enough to play. But those guys were not responsible adults. Now that I am an adult, why did no one pull me to the side and be like, hey kid, you're not playing? Because a 15, 16-year-old kid is not going to be able to accurately make that decision. So, especially when they think their small worldview is so important that they need to risk their entire body for a high school athletic event. So, but to be said, like, freak accident shouldn't have happened. You know, shouldn't have happened that way. It's not like they overworked me into it happening. It happened out of nowhere. So, you know, the injury's not necessarily their fault, but you know, I was so hell-bent on trying to prove my place. You know, they could clearly see there was some serious structural damage there. So I find it irresponsible for an adult to not pull me to the side and be like, hey kid, you're not playing. Because I would have done that for a kid. It's not a nice conversation to have, but you kind of need to have that conversation so you can at least save someone trouble in the future. And you can't even say an adult, like, you know, some people are like, oh, it wasn't my place to say anything, I have anxiety or something like that. It's like, nah, I mean, maybe if you're dealing with fully grown adults, and you can't, like, you're talking to someone, you could tell there's not really much of anything you're going to say that's going to change their mind on anything they're doing. But with a kid, like, even if you're not going to change their mind, they're still a kid. You know, you gotta enforce that you know best, whether they like it or not. So that's how I feel about that. And I played football like right before they started taking concussions very seriously. So, you know, I blocking with my fucking head every play, getting my bell rung, constantly concussed. These things could have been avoided. But it was a very good football school, like very good football team. Just however, coaches were a little apathetic to you actually having damage in your body. You know, so I mean, also, like, you got to be a little bit fair there. Like they're there to win games. So if you hurt yourself and you can no longer perform, and they're like, hey, why don't you go stand on the sideline? It's not a personal choice. Like they solely exist to win games, put the best people out there to win those games. And if you're not useful for that goal, like I would not take it personal if they put you on the sideline. But kids do. I mean, some adults do. You can see that clearly in professional sports. But I mean, at least professional sports wise, like they're paying those coaches so handsomely well that like they should have no problem making hard calls with people. So anyway, let's transition off of that subject. It's a bit too much of that. We train legs tonight. That's going to be good. So my shoulder is actually feeling a little bit better. I have not been doing the BPC, but I have been using a little bit of glutathione, which I was genuinely surprised at how much that hurt to do. But the nice part about glutathione is it's like a super antioxidant. So when I recently got blood work done, my liver enzymes were a bit high. It wasn't a dangerous number, but it's something where it's like, well, this is a small deviation. We can fix this. So with that in mind, it's like, oh, well, what should we do here? Well, honestly, first I gotta supplement some milk thistle, because I had not been doing that. And that's like a staple thing you want to supplement if you're using gear and stuff, just for protective measures a little bit. I mean, obviously, if you're like, this goes without saying, if you're like doing way too much of something, like that milk thistle's not going to do shit for you. But if you're being reasonable and you're actively consistently taking that milk thistle, give you a little tiny barrier of protection. And little tiny amounts of things, those could pay big dividends in the future. It's kind of like investing $10,000 now. Like, it doesn't seem like it's growing very much, but in 20 years, it's a lot of money now. It's kind of the same concept. It's to avoid problems later down the road. So that way I can keep continuing to do this to the best of my ability for a very long time. There's no point in getting huge if I could only reach that point for half a year or something, even 2 years. Because what's the point of that if I'm just going to be in a situation where I have to stop everything again? That would be very counterproductive for me. So milk thistle's big, and the glutathione, I do believe it directly helps. I understand the antioxidant properties. I'm a bit unsure on how to articulate exactly what mechanism is taking place in the body, proving it to be beneficial. But I may not be able to explain it, but I know that it is. I've heard of many, many people using this to improve metrics, and for a long period of time. I just personally have no experience with this stuff, so I can't articulate exactly why it's helping so much, but I know that it is. So that is going to be nice, because I want to be in a good spot for everything going forward. If I'm in a good spot for everything, I have no reason to not perform well. And it kind of helps me. Like, even yesterday, I decided to back off on my shoulders for a week, because that joint has just progressively taken a worse and worse beating, and it's starting to hurt so much it's affecting my ability to train my shoulders how I need to. So while I don't want to have to take a back seat on the shoulders for a moment, I need to, so I can take more steps forward. And that's a hard decision to make sometimes, because you don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, but I've actually come face to face with serious injuries before, and the worst part about them is that it'll put you out of the gym altogether for a very considerable amount of time. So taking a week or two on the back burner versus not being able to lift at all for upwards of a year, kind of a no-brainer. And it was a long recovery with my arm surgery, so but why would I want to go through another one of those? That was terrible. It's very hard on mental health. Can't perform well, can't do the things you like. All because I didn't want to have good fatigue management and completely dug my body into the ground. So in order to prevent those nosedives, the simple solution is to actually listen to my body when it's feeling a certain way. And if you've been doing this for a very long time, you have a good idea of why things are happening. Yeah, even if you're a bit aloof, you should still be able to pay attention to your body enough to kind of pinpoint what's going on day to day. For instance, if I have not drinking enough water, I can feel that dehydration in my muscles while I'm working out. It's almost like my body does not want to, contract and stretch to the best of its ability. Like things kind of feel like they don't want to move right. And it's a very particular feeling I could feel when I have that issue going on. Same thing with tendon and ligament issues. Both are painful, both feel a bit different. So things like that over time, experiencing it firsthand, no one wants to experience it firsthand, but it does at least give you the clarity of being more confident in what's going on with yourself. And it took a very long time to get to this mindset, because I never used to do this, especially when you're a younger guy. You don't even see the point in caring about that, because you could get injured as a young man and then just continue to work out full blast, and it will get better most of the time. So sore elbows, sore knees, whatever it is, you could kind of just push through that when you're like an 18 to 22-year-old kid, and you don't really see the point in strategically mapping everything out over a long period of time, because your body's just bouncing back from everything so quickly. But if you've been doing this a long time, and I've been doing this a long time, you get a better idea what you can and can't get away with, even if you don't immediately feel the repercussions. And you get better at navigating that so you can continue doing this for a long period of time. There's a lot of people that have really great results and they make it decently far. Problem is, they had a real race to the finish line type of mindset. So because of that, they burn out quickly. They've only been lifting for maybe a few years. It's extremely impressive for the results they've gotten. But then for one reason or another, they end up falling off, and you never hear from these people again. It's because they were not implementing things that would help them do this over a long period of time. And if you really like doing this, if you really like the results, if you really like everything lifting weights is doing for you, then you want to put yourself in a spot to be able to continue doing it. If you don't do that, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to have a bad time every time. And I don't want that for anyone, because I had a very rough time when I hurt my arm, and I don't want anyone to experience that. You get a lot of depression, a lot of inadequacy with yourself, and it's a recipe to just give yourself no reasons to feel good. So with all that being said, I hope everyone out there is a bit more diligent day to day with what they're doing. Hope you all continue making great gains, and I will see you on the next one.